Hey, just to let you guys know, my screen is doing something goofy, and I can't see any of the chat. So I'm not ignoring you. I just can't see it. So I'm just gonna proceed with the unboxing, and I apologize if the moderators can go ahead and answer any questions on my behalf, because somehow my screen is larger than it's supposed to be, and it kind of cut off the edges of the. This is that new computer, so I don't know how to change it back. Let's see here. Well, we'll just have to fly this way today. And again, I'm sorry I can't respond to the chat because it's cut off on the screen. Maybe I can pull it up on my phone. Maybe that's a way to bypass it. This box arrived a couple weeks ago from South Carolina, and I told Paula that my initial impression of the packing that was done by the UPS store in Greenwood, South Carolina, is not good. The quality of the box and stuff is just horrible. So we'll see. Maybe the vintage sewing machine fairies were looking out for it, and it'll turn out to be okay. But we'll have to wait and see. I'm just going to try one other thing real quick to see if I can. Thanks for everybody's patience. I'm trying to get this set up so I can at least. Oh, hey, Sonny. Yeah, I was able to pull it up on my phone. I bumped some silly button on this new computer, and now it's expanded the window so I can't see the chat. So I'm just going to use my phone, and I'll just glance at it periodically. That's the best I can do. Isn't that the thing when you get a brand new piece of equipment, you're just trying to figure out what's going on with it, how it works, and this has like a little smart pad down here that you can touch, and it does all kinds of weird things. So, but let's just get into this, and I'll show you kind of as I turn it around. You can see the different sides of the box. Got a punch through right here. That there we go. Got a punch through right here. I can actually feel the packing peanuts inside. So the corrugation on this box is just horrible. It's a horrible box. Here you can see the buckling. It's kind of bulging out on the side as well. So I told Paula right away that I wanted to document this just so that if she has to file a claim against the UPS store in Greenwood, South Carolina, she can go ahead and do that. So, oh, good morning, Emma. I explained I bumped the wrong button on this new laptop, and now the screen is expanded, so I can't see the chat on my laptop. So I opened up my phone so I can at least glance over periodically. Okay, I think we got everything we need. Let's go ahead and just jump into this. I'll give you some general clues. Give you some general clues on what might be inside of here, and I'll give you real general. The machine, in all likelihood, if I remember correctly, is from Germany. So it could be one of many machines that were made in Germany. And you've seen this machine on the channel before, so it's not a unique machine to this channel. I know those are real broad clues, but I'll just show you something else as well. I'll kind of turn it towards the camera a little bit. I'm going to turn the music down too so you can hear this stuff sliding around inside of there. So I always talk about immobilizing things, right? I'm just going to kind of turn it on its side for a second here. Look at the amount of space as I push this down. I didn't know what we'll find out shortly what they wrapped this with, but look at this box. That's with one finger. And it's just, if I can get a grip on it. Imagine this being transported all the way from South Carolina to Oconto, Wisconsin. That's got to be a good, probably about 1,000 miles, right? Almost 1,000 miles. This was not packed for that kind of journey. This was not packed to go from Oconto to Green Bay, Wisconsin, which is about 25 miles away. I'm going to get a container to throw these peanuts in. I'll just kind of give you a peek inside of the box real quick here. So there's some sort of padding around the box. You can see that in the shot. That's that's encouraging. But right up here, remember I talked about the rule when you're packing something, you shouldn't be able to press on that and feel the contours of the machine. I can feel the machine right through there. And this box again, this box is just, I don't know, maybe it got wet along the way or something, but I mean, you can see the corrugation thickness. Corrugation thickness of that is just pathetically thin. I typed in the keyword guitar today and it's got some crazy, like, I don't know what this music is. I think they used to have something called acid rock. This kind of feels like acid rock a little bit. But so I'm keeping my fingers crossed. You can see, again, this is the way the machine would be orientated. The machine was shipped on its side. That's not always a bad thing. And they've got a good layer of peanuts underneath it. So let's keep our fingers crossed. Again, the box is just horrible, but maybe somehow, kind of like Emma said, and yeah, like Sonny said as well, keep your fingers crossed. Maybe the VSM ferries kept this one safe. I hope that's the case. But the padding on here is just, it's definitely not up to our standards. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Let me show you kind of what I'm seeing here. So we're starting to clear the peanuts away. This would be the bottom. That's one of the pedestal feet for the machine sticking through. And you can see that's how that puncture happened on the box. You never ever want to have a pedestal foot sticking through. Thank goodness this was on the side of the box and not on the bottom, or this likely would be snapped off. We have the same problem over here. See the other pedestal foot sticking through here, and you can see the damage that resulted, partly because the box is just a crappy box. It just is. I'm just saying it like it is. And this pedestal foot punched through the corrugated cardboard as well. So this is obviously not sufficient. There was no, other than the wraparound, there was no additional padding on the pedestal feet like I showed you recently when I sent Alberto's machine back to Texas. These are like little blades almost, and if you don't pad them real well, they'll cut through pretty much anything that you wrap around them. That's why I use those real thick cushions on the bottom of Alberto's machine, if you saw that. So we have one pedestal foot sticking out here that punched all the way through the box. You can see that with my finger. Punched all the way through. We got the same thing over here with this pedestal foot punching all the way through this box here on that side. So like I said, if they had packed this vertically, I wouldn't be surprised at all with what we're seeing if one or both of these had been snapped off. It just goes to show you how important packing is, right? I harp about packing all the time, but you can see the results of what happens when you don't take the necessary precautions. And we can't even see what's on the other side of the machine yet. So you do this long enough, you just have an intuition. You can tell if something's been done right, and this has not been done right. Yeah, let's keep our fingers crossed, Emma, as far as it being intact. We can see two of the three primary pedestal feet. They did not get broken as far as we can tell. So that's good. That's a good thing. Hold on just a second. I got to check something. All right, I'm at a point where I'm going to try to lift this up. See, here again, this kind of concerns me a little bit. I didn't even show this to you. Hold on. Right here on the side, look at what we see kind of poking through. That's the balance wheel. So here's the kind of crazy thing, right? I hope that's the top. That should be the top based on the orientation. The top of the machine should be facing up. I started to get really concerned when I could see the balance wheel right there, the stop action. But it appears that the front of the machine, where all the delicate controls are, is facing up. But that means the motor is facing down, which isn't good either. So this is a heavy machine. Holy mackerel. This has to be one of the, of course, we had that other U-Haul box as well. Why UPS is they wouldn't be shipping. I guess the customer probably packed this up. I don't know, but it was shipped from the UPS store. Someone tried to follow our method here, but there's only it feels like there's only 1 or 2 layers of this bubble wrap around here. And see how squishy it is? They wrapped it with the bubble wrap. That's why I talk about using the strapping tape, right? When you use the strapping tape, it sucks that bubble wrap in and conforms it to the shape of the machine, which keeps it immobilized. Right now, we're loosey-goosey on this bubble wrap. So somebody attempted to protect the machine, but it's way insufficient. And then coupled with the quality of the corrugated box, which is, I mean, it's just pathetic. We got a machine, if it arrives safely, 2 thumbs up to the VSM ferries. Two thumbs up. Well, this is a Sonny, just to clarify, this is not our Paula Noel. This is a different Paula. This is a customer Paula of mine from South Carolina. So customers, I always tell them to look at the packing videos. If the customer did pack this, they probably only caught a glimpse of the packing video, because this is not what we want to be seeing. Well, let's keep our fingers crossed. Like you guys said already, let's just hope for the best, and we'll see what happens. But I know from Paula's last note, her name is Paula Dorn, D-O-R-N. From Paula's last note, she was really anxious when I told her about my concerns about the outside box and everything, about seeing how the machine arrived and everything. So let's check it out. Grab a pair of scissors. I agree with you, Sonny, 100%. There's no way Paula Noel would. She would study those packing videos, and probably, I mean, she would do it to the T. She would do it to the T. So. Uh-oh. Well, this is not good. I know I didn't cut myself, but look at my hand, y'all. That's blood. I bet you I had like some soft skin there and just bumped it in the right way that I popped it open. Let me wipe this blood off so I don't get it all over the machine. Give me just a second. I did get down there already. That is so weird. I wonder when that happened. Huh. Good to see you, Irene, from, hey. Yeah, it has been a while since you've had a chance to be a part of the premieres or the live streams. There's where it's bleeding right there. Let me put a Band-Aid on that right there. I must have broken it open somehow. Otherwise, I'm going to get blood all over the place. See that? Unpacking can be dangerous. Oh, R-rated for Halloween gore. Sonny, you're a hoot. Oh goodness. Yeah, you know, as the winter starts to move in and the air becomes more dry, your hands become more fragile. That's why Susie sent me that stuff. Remember that lotion stuff she sent me from Minnesota? This stuff right here. I'm gonna have to start using this stuff because apparently my skin is already starting to crack and get more fragile. Yeah, that was weird. I wondered what it was. I thought it was paint at first, but it was actually. Oh yeah, Irene, I've added a number of characters since you've been attending the regular premieres. Quite a few. I'll just show you real quick. We've got this this gentleman that everyone feels like is probably from Florida. And who else? This gal right here. I don't know if you saw these guys or not, the doctor and the missus. And this gentleman here. And he's new too, this guy here. This is our Canadian representative. He's a Mountie from Canada, so he'll represent all the Canadian machines. As a matter of fact, I have a Canadian machine coming up pretty quick that is a 1591. I think that's about it. All the others I think you would have known pretty well. Yeah, you bet. We got, there we go, get that wiped off too. All right, you're going to be able to see this pretty quick. Any guesses as to what machine this is? I told you it's from Germany, and I might have also mentioned that it's a Pfaff. Any guess as to the model that this might be? I can tell you it's not a 332, and you can tell that right away pretty much by the color of it. Most of the 332s are going to be more of a cream color, kind of a brownish cream. This is black, obviously. It's not a 130. Great guess, though. Excellent guess, you guys. It looks like Irene and Sunny guessed maybe a 130. It's not a 130, and it's not the 130-6 like I just sent back to Texas to Alberto. It's not a 134. Ooh. I don't know why folks do this. It's so weird. Let me show you. They actually use regular packing tape, and they tape it right to the paint of the machine. And here they've even got the Pfaff decal. Right here they've got the Pfaff branding mark, and they've got the tape right over the top of that. So that's right over the the branding mark. Yeah, it's actually got two layers of tape. It's got this upper layer, and then it's got this tape over the. What I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this off for right now, and then I'll try to use some undo or something like that to remove this safely, so I don't end up peeling off that decal, depending on how thick the clear coat is. Because it's not just here; this is also tape up here too. That's tape across there. Yeah, me too, Sonny. I don't understand why folks do that. If you're going to use tape against the body of the machine to kind of anchor something down or whatever, then use a painter's tape, like the blue tape or the green tape that they use, and it peels off very easily. It doesn't leave that sticky residue that could damage this. So let's just do this. I'm just going to leave that there for right now, and then I'll see if I can remove it safely. Oh, that's good. So they actually removed, I can see in this packaging now, in this packaging, they have the motor inside of the bag that they put inside of the harp space. So that's a good thing. So, because that was my concern, the way the machine was positioned sideways in the box, this would have been facing down, but they had the wherewithal. And it's possible when I talked to Paula Dorn from South Carolina that we discussed this. I talked to so many people. I may have forgotten that conversation, but taking off the motor was definitely the right move. Definitely the right move. Any other guesses on the model? We had guesses of 130, 134. I think that's it. I'm just going to see what else is in these bags here. Oh, wow. Yeah, this is going to definitely require some rewiring. This is actually the electrical junction box that mounts on the right side of the machine. And I don't know if the wiring broke loose, but you can see there's just remnants of wiring on there. This is the plug-in for power, which has seen better days. So we're not going to be plugging this in to test it unless I use one of my plugs, maybe. That's just part of the same assembly there. This kind of covers up the bottom of that so someone doesn't reach up from the bottom of the plug-in accidentally and make contact with the contacts and get shocked. So, but some definite wiring opportunities that I'm seeing on Paula Dorn's machine. Oh, this is appropriate. I hadn't read the front of the bag. Appropriate for Halloween. I didn't really plan to open it today. I was hoping to unpack this earlier, and I haven't had time. But with this being the weekend where a lot of people are going to celebrate Halloween, this is totally cool, totally appropriate. So here we have the kind of a stretch belt. I'm not a big fan of stretch belts because they tend to slip over time as they get more stretchy. And then this is another connector for power. I don't know why she sent both of these, because the one in the back is going to take the first one that I showed you, like this. You can see what happens with these plugins, though. This is one that I've had for a while, and it obviously broke as well. But this type of plugin is the kind that will go with this particular Pfaff machine. I just won't use this one either because this one's broken too. It's not a 332 either, Irene. 332s typically are going to be a different color. They're going to be more of a kind of a brownish beige type color, similar to the one that we sent to Switzerland for Heidi. It's kind of that color scheme. I don't know if I have a 332 within reach that I could show you. Yeah, I do. Hold on. Oh. This is actually a later model. This is a later model. Let's move that over. I always say sometimes a teacher, always a student, right? I completely forgot that some of the very early models of this machine, they did make them in beige also. So these two models, this one and this one, are exactly the same models. I deal with so many machines, I lose track sometimes of the different migrations in the model classes when they made them between design, colors, features, etc. So this machine came in black and whatever this would be, kind of a beigeish brown color. Can you see it in the shot now what model it is? And this would be earlier than this one. And this is just from my personal collection, this particular machine. So yeah, you're right. You're spot on, Irene. It is a model 230. So this would have been a model that came on the scene before the 332. Pfaff actually usually followed the rules of numeric sequence. And these are going to have a lot of the same features, but also some differences too, because they came out in different periods. You can see the upper tensions are different between the two machines. Controls are going to be pretty much the same on both machines. Built-in cam features are going to be the same between the two machines. The drive systems are going to be a little bit different though. Let me rotate the machine and I'll show you the drive system on this earlier model, which I think was actually better because it has a different pulley system. You can see on this one that Paula Dorn just sent, it's going to have a more standard type bracket that's going to mount on the machine like this. And you've got direct drive pulley to balance wheel from here to here. On this, you're going to have a extra pulley assembly that's inside of here that's going to distribute that power when it comes off of the output shaft on the motor more evenly. This will generally give you better launch, this design, than this one. Because on this one, you've got the opportunity that that pulley can slip. There's no redistribution of the power coming off of that motor pulley, and it can cause slippage, especially as the belt becomes more worn. This one has an extra pulley in there, almost like a tensioner, that will help to cause that power to kind of float through and be driven down to the main shaft and then down to the needle. So it was probably, I mean, looking at the design and the construct and everything, it was more expensive to make this one that was earlier than this later model. That's probably why they migrated away from using this type of drivetrain and system. Back in the day, they weren't as concerned about that. And then as cost became a factor, they became a lot more driven by how can we cut corners? How can we save money? Oh, this one could technically, I'll show you. This one could technically, here and here would be the mounting point for that embroidery kit. But because this has so many built-in stitches, I don't know if I have a stitch card or not for, but this has so many built-in stitch options. By setting these dials, you don't have to put any cams in this machine. You just set the different points. I've shown this machine, I think, before on the channel. I'm pretty sure I have 230. And you're able to generate just a ton of stitches with it. Let me see if I have a 230 stitch card just to show you some of the options, but I don't know if I do. Yeah, I do. I do have a stitch card for it right here. So to give you an idea of what either one of these machines can generate, they're going to have the same type of cam stack. This is a stitch card for this machine. And as you can see, it covers the model 230, it covers the model 332, and it covers the model 338. There might be some variance in that cam stack, but this particular stitch card can go with all three of those Pfaff models. And this gives you an idea. These are all the stitch options you can see right here. Plus, actually, that's dual needle. I'm sorry. That's the dual needle side, the twin needle side. If we turn it over, this is the single needle side. A lot of people prefer these models because you don't have to add any cams to the machine. It's just ready to rock and roll right from the get-go. So even if you had an embroidery kit, there really wouldn't be any incentive to add it to these models because that embroidery kit was designed almost immediately after the Pfaff 130 as the first zigzag machine that Pfaff ever came up with was introduced, the latter 1920s going to the 1930s. And that was their first option to give cam functions to a 130 model. And then later they came out with the 230s and then the 332, 338, and a bunch of other models as well that would offer those built-in cam features where you just basically dial a stitch and you then pick the, you set the numbers on the machine. I've shown this to you on the channel before. I haven't thought of that, Irene, because I would need to probably rent a football field, at least part of it. I've got about 200 machines, and you can imagine in the workshop space here, there's no way I could display more than 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe 5 machines. Kind of like when we did the fundraiser for the South Bend, Indiana History Museum. I had all of those Slantomatics lined up in a row and had this workbench maxed out. So I don't know if that's part of the reason I did the giveaway like I did for the Humane Society, where the grand prize winner would either be able to virtually or physically come to the workshop, and I would be able to walk them through all of this space here in the workshop area. And then I've got an overflow area out in my attached garage as well, with racks built in the back of the garage. It's quite a large garage, and I've got racks built in the back of the garage. It's probably about 15 or 20 feet wide, about 12 feet high, and then the rows go about 6 or 7 machines deep. So that gives you an idea of the scope of the machines that I have. So I don't know how I would be able to display them without actually walking somebody through and showing them, the collection, kind of what I'm going to do with the folks from Texas. So, but I love revisiting machines like this. I don't handle a lot of 230s. Most people that are looking at Pfaff machines with embroidery capacity right away gravitate towards the 332 model. And these are kind of seen as, the old version. And a lot of folks are wanting to get the newest and the greatest vintage embroidery type Pfaff machine. And that usually is going to fall in the 332. But these are fabulous machines, and they really are the earlier version of that embroidery function, unless you go all the way back to the embroidery kit like you saw on Alberto's machine that went to Texas. I'll show you a 332 as well. I've got one of those sitting nearby. So here you can see is a 332. Obviously, some of the things that people liked about it is it offered that free arm. These two models back here are both going to be flatbeds. They're going to be flatbed machines. And anyone that's looking for that free arm, and then this one has that really cool collapsible type bed. You can pull it up like this, lock it into place. There's an additional extension right here that you can put on as well. That actually gives it more workspace than the Husqvarnas. So this is part of the reason a lot of the people that are looking specifically for a Pfaff machine that has embroidery capacities, they're going to right away gravitate towards the 332 because of this extended workspace. That extended workspace. This again, when you put this next to a Husqvarna extension bed, you actually have more workspace with the 332 when it has this extension piece on it. This adds another 3 or 4 inches, I guess. Yeah, it adds another 4 inches to it. And then when you look at the total space, almost 16 inches from here to here. All space as well. Needle to pillar is about 8 inches. Vertical clearance is about 5 inches. And front to rear is going to be about 7 inches. And if you compare it to a Husqvarna extension bed, just kind of show you. So you can see the space difference between the two. You're gaining from the end of the bed all the way to the pillar, you're gaining probably another 4 inches or so of workspace compared to, and Husqvarnas are great. I mean, they've got a huge amount of workspace, but when you compare the Husqvarna workspace to the 332, when you could add this extra piece to it, it's just, it really is a desirable machine, isn't it? It really is. And I actually have a brand new tensioner. You might have noticed, you guys are real smart. You notice everything. It doesn't have an upper tension right now. That's in here, right here, because I tried to rebuild the old one and it just wasn't working. So I bought a replacement for it. But it really is a fantastic. Yeah, it is a cool extension for sure. It is a cool extension, especially when you factor this one in. It's got the little legs that fold down as well, for good support. This one, I think the Germans are real smart when it comes to design. They came out with these 2 supports where the Husqvarna just has that single support leg like this that rotates down. And it generally is enough, but you know, if they had, you know, done two of these, one that folded this way, one that folded that way, and you could fold them out, it would provide even better support on the end of that bed, kind of like the Pfaff design. So but this 332 eventually I'll be offering it maybe around Christmas time if I can get to it. I'll be offering this one for sale once I go through it and make sure everything is absolutely spot on. So well, let's go back to our machine of focus. And we'll take a closer look at Paula's machine and just see how it fared in the journey, because it wasn't packed as well as it could have been, that's for sure. And I do have on the channel, I do have this particular stitch card on the YouTube channel. I've got it set up as a still shot video stream. So if you don't have a stitch card like this and you have any of these models, the 230, the earliest one, the 332 or the 338, you can actually do all the settings on your machine. I think I showed that when we did a recent machine, maybe with Heidi's we did it, but if you don't have a stitch card, you can just look it up on my channel and you can look at all of the stitch settings. I believe I did it. Yeah, I did it for single needle. Yeah, single needle and the double needle as well as on the channel. Because they sell these sometimes aftermarket, but they're typically like around $30. Which is quite a bit of money to spend when you don't have to. You can just go to the Cow Country YouTube channel, type in Pfaff 332 or Pfaff 230 or 338, and you'll see those two videos that show these frame by frame by frame with all of the stitch settings for these. It has a close-up, and you can basically see the little window and what you need to set on your machine for that particular stitch. So put it on your Christmas wish list. Yeah. I was just talking with a couple yesterday that drove in from Indiana. And I was talking about the number of machines that I had. And she was talking about the few machines she had. And she turns to her husband and she says, "See, I told you I don't have that many machines." And he made the mistake. Her husband made the mistake of then asking me, "Well, Scott, how many machines is enough?" I said, "Well, if you've got 10 machines, like your wife, around 10 machines, then just one more." He says, "So you mean 11?" I said, "Yeah, but then when you have 11, then just one more." So it really, all the machines are unique, aren't they? All the machines are unique. All right, let's take a closer look at this Model 230 and continue to keep our fingers crossed. Well, I think it is an early Christmas miracle the way it was packed and the fact that at least 2 of the pedestal feet punched through that very chintzy corrugated box, I don't see any sign that any of the pedestal feet got broken. So the VSM ferries were working overtime as this machine was traveling from South Carolina to Wisconsin. What a blessing. What a great outcome. Now I'm assuming we'll kind of go around the machine a little bit. I see that one of the spool pins back here is missing. I'll check the box just in case it got broken off in the transport. That's what I'm talking about right here. See, it's actually. That's why Pfaff designed these to collapse so that they wouldn't be as likely to get broken off. But, and, you know, if it came with one is sufficient. But if you want to do dual needle sewing, then you'd have to have some sort of a thread tray or something like that for the second thread that you're feeding in. So. This is another part that always is vulnerable to get broken off in transport. And if you're not familiar with this model, this is the feed dog drop right here. You're just going to rotate it like that. The feed dogs will drop. You rotate it back and they pop back up again. You can kind of see that in the shot. Light switch, obviously. It's going to be our stitch length and also our reverse as well over here. Stitch length and reverse. Stitch width. Stitch width, needle position. This is going to be a control to set parameters for doing buttonholes. This is going to let you lower your light down. Oftentimes these will get kind of glitchy. That works just fine. It doesn't quite retract, does it? Oh, it's actually loose. It feels like the assembly might be broken off because that should go back up into that housing completely. Right now it's kind of dangling down, isn't it? So we are incredibly fortunate. Get that shot right. These two in the front are the most vulnerable right here, where they can get snapped off. On Alberto's 130-6, this is the one that got broken off, if you remember correctly. And this one does have the 230 model does have dual cleated belts. They are a smaller cleated belt than on the 130-6 that I showed you recently. They kind of sized them down a little bit. They still go with the dual, but the overall cleated size is probably 12% smaller. Oh, hey, how you doing, Dr. T? Yeah, it depends on the model, Irene. Irene wrote, compared to the Singer machines, the Pfaffs are like tanks. They were engineered very solid. They were engineered quite solid. The other thing you might find interesting, if you look at the bottom stamp on this machine, to tell you how and it's why I didn't right away remember that the Pfaff 230 came in black and beige. It's because it would exchange parts between the two sometimes. Look at how this is stamped on the bottom of here. On the bottom of this model 230, it's actually stamped that the bottom part of the machine, the bed area and such, actually came from the 130 series. So if they could reuse parts as they move forward with models, why wouldn't they, right? I mean, the only alternative was to go ahead and recycle them somehow, but recycling of cast parts like this probably wasn't as big of a thing back in the 1950s as it is now. So they ended up using a Pfaff 130 bed to build this 230 model. So does anyone know where the serial number is on this machine? Does anyone know? Yeah, frugal for sure. Absolutely. The Germans are very frugal people. I can tell you, having lived among them for 3 years in Germany, they're very, very frugal people. They don't want to waste anything. And it's probably because a lot of them grew up in the times either as children, teenagers, or maybe even as adults during the war, and they remember how scarce things were. So they try to be incredibly good stewards of everything that they have. And that's part of the reason that when you're a German and you're moving from one place to another, where we would move into a new home or we would move into an apartment, and the kitchen counters, the kitchen cabinets, the all the core items in that kitchen would already be there, and we would just take our dishes and our utensils and stuff and put them away. When you walk into a genuine German construct, whether it's a house or an apartment, and you walk into that kitchen area, it's bare walls, because the Germans carry with them, when they move from one place to another, they carry their cabinets, they carry their shelving and everything that's going to go into the kitchen. Everything that they bring is theirs when they fill that space in the kitchen. So that's the way they live. They live very, very frugally and very, very conservatively. But this is a solid machine, without a doubt, a very solid machine. So did you guess where the serial number is on this model or not? The second question is, what kind of hook system does this machine have? And Emma is saying that she believes that the serial number She writes serial number on the Pfaff by the hand wheel or bottom. And then she wrote bottom. Where on the bottom would we look for it? Because the featherweight serial number and the slant-o-matic serial numbers are on the bottom of the machine too. But are they near the raceway on this machine, do you think? Is that where we would find the serial number? Does anyone know where we would find the serial number on this particular model 230? And again, recognizing now that they repurposed the bases that were being used on the 130s for this 230, maybe that would be a big clue where we would find the serial number. And the second question I would throw out to you guys is, what kind of hook system does this have? Does it have an oscillating hook system, rotary hook system? What kind of hook system does this machine have? Any guesses? Yeah. So Irene is saying it's going to have a rotary hook system. And Dr. T is saying he agrees, if I understand his remark correctly. Dr. T is agreeing with Irene that it's going to be a rotary hook system. Emma is also saying rotary hook as well. Because we know that a number of the Singer models would go back and forth between the rotary and the oscillating. And they would migrate back and forth. And there's benefits to both systems. Easiest way to tell is to move the camera and point over at the hook system. And then what I'll do is I'll turn the balance wheel to confirm for sure what kind of hook system we have. So you guys are absolutely the smartest student teachers in the world, because it is a rotary hook system without a doubt. It definitely is a rotary hook system. Now, as to the serial number, I never really got a clear answer on that, so I'm just going to show you. If we move up from the bottom of the bed that's stamped Pfaff 130, even though this is a model 230, and we just go up a little bit to the front edge of the bed, there's our serial plate right there. So the serial plate on these models is typically going to be right in the center, just underneath the edge of the bed, as you can see. And there are records online where you can try to look up the dating of these machines. It's not always 100% reliable, but it's what we have. So if any of you wanted to try to look this serial number up, it's going to be 5185129. And you can see again, like a lot of the manufacturers back in the 1940s and 50s and 60s, good housekeeping seal was a big deal. So if you were importing a machine like a Pfaff from Germany into the US and you wanted to sell it to Americans, you found a way to be able to apply this sticker to the machine. I don't know what the approval process was or what they needed to do in order to legally put this sticker on the machine, but you'll see it on the Japanese machines, you'll see it on some of the Swiss machines, and certainly on the German machines as well. I don't know if the Swedish really tapped into that or not. But that's where the serial number is there, right on the front center of the bed. So
So nice feature on all of the machines that I mentioned. A number of the 130s will have this design, 230s, 338s, 332s, is to remove off the top. You don't have to take out any bolts or screws like on a lot of machines. You just grab it like this right around here, kind of wiggle it, and it comes off straight away. And then you have access to servicing all the areas, the top of the faceplate area over here, where you've got a lot of mechanics that require attention. And you can see all the varnishing built up on this machine that belongs to Paula Dorn out of South Carolina. A lot of people just say, well, isn't that just patina? Well, patina doesn't restrict the movement necessarily of mechanical parts. Varnishing does. Varnishing acts like a cement, and it gets into all the little grooves and crevices, and it ends up restricting the movement of the machine. So that's something that I want part of my service, is getting as much of that varnishing off as I can so that it's not holding that machine back. And on this machine as well, if you're not familiar, it does have an auto needle threader. And if you decide to be adventurous and take the faceplate off, you take out this single bolt right there. Take out that single bolt, and then the faceplate will come off. But when you put it back on, you got to make sure that you line it up with the mechanism for the needle threader, which is right there. Otherwise, when you go to engage the machine, metal parts are going to hit metal parts, and you're likely to break something. So just be real careful if you decide to take this faceplate off, that you line everything up again, especially the auto needle threader. So on the back of the machine, instead of seeing one lever like we typically do, our presser foot lever right here, you're also going to see this additional lever, and that's for your auto needle threader. You go like this, and it's going to come down. And these are notorious for losing function. What's supposed to happen is when I activate this, it's supposed to go down, but it's also supposed to rotate. This goes down, and then it's supposed to rotate. If you're thinking of a clock facing down, it's going to rotate clockwise and allow that to thread the needle. Right now, it's not rotating as it should. This again, when it's at its full extension, when it gets to right about there, it'll pivot and then press that thread through the eye of the needle. And those are always having issues. They're always having issues when it comes to working as they should. But it was a neat concept anyway. This is your cam stack right here on the machine. And you can see, based on the number of layers of that cam stack, based on a number of layers, it gives you an idea of how is it able to generate all of these stitches without ever putting a cam into the machine. It's because of this engineering right here of the cam stack. It gives you all of those stitch options, and you never have to put a cam in. It's all built into the machine. I wouldn't say that the Pfaff 50 is rare. One of the more rare Pfaff models that's a straight stitch only, and I've got one over here, is going to be the Pfaff Model 6. I have a Pfaff Model 6 in my personal collection, and that would be considered a little bit more on the rare side. And then I think I have a Pfaff 18 that I was going to donate to the sewing museum down in Oklahoma. But that trip, as you guys know, was canceled because of the COVID stuff going on and all that. So yeah, I've got the one that I was going to take to Oklahoma is still all wrapped up and padded because I was planning on driving down there. And WK and I still stay in communication, but there's been no traction moving forward with going down there to visit that museum. The thing I love about his museum down there in the Oklahoma area is it has interactive machines where folks visiting about how is COVID in the U.S. because we have folks working on my team from all over the country, and we also have Irene as well from the West Coast. So I think it really is by region as far as how are things going with the COVID thing. Those folks can kind of chime in and let you know from their part of the country what they're seeing. And I know it kind of changes and ebbs and flows a little bit as well. But again, I think just fascinating engineering. And as you're generating these cams from the cam stack, these little, I call them fingers, these little reader fingers are going to be working in conjunction with the cam stack to generate the stitch output. And almost like a piano, if any of you have ever looked on the inside of a piano or looked on the inside of other musical instruments, these are all fine tuners right here. So with a real tiny screwdriver similar to this, these fine tuners need to be adjusted as you stitch those different stitches that I showed you on the stitch card. If you're trying to generate one of these stitches here and it just doesn't quite look right, maybe it's oblonged or the formation of the stitch is just a little bit odd. These are the fine tuners that need to be adjusted to try to change the look, the contours, the shape, the conformity of that stitch. These fine tuners and the Pfaff machines, as the technology improved over the years, going into the from the 40s into the 50s, the 50s into the 60s, some of these machines will come like this one with 1, 2, 3, 4 fine tuners. Some of them only have 3. And I believe I've had one on the workbench that actually had 5 of these fine tuners. But the adjustments on these are real tricky when it comes to getting that stitch output that you want. But, it's like anything. You kind of spitball a little bit and make the adjustments. I'm pretty familiar with them now, so I've got a good handle of it. But it's something that requires quite a bit of patience, trying to get it just right, just like tuning a piano, right? This is our bobbin winder over here. You can see the top of those 2 cleated belts here for the drivetrain. Engage it, just push it to the rear and back. And again, the Germans like to make it real clear what you need to oil. Unfortunately, these little red circles eventually will kind of wear off or fade. But wherever you see these red marks, and you'll find them all over the machine. There's also one underneath the fine tuner stack as well. It'll give you a clue as far as maintaining that machine once you add it to your collection and start using it. So, but the 230 is a great machine. It'll be a fun machine to eventually premiere. And I am so excited that it arrived in spite of less than good packing. It arrived without any damage to it at all. Yeah, I agree with you, Irene. I think the Germans are very, very smart, very innovative, great engineers. And they think outside of the box when it comes to designing things, where as you look at other machine manufacturers, kind of like when we gave the patents and the designs to the Japanese, it's easy enough to take an original and to Xerox it, right? Or to copy it. It's easy to make a copy once you have the plans and the design. to come up with something like this, where there weren't any real predecessors that had this type of engineering in the machine, is really I mean, it's a kudos to the Germans in being able to come up with that. It really is. It's phenomenal. So again, just at a quick glance, I think the machine survived the journey. This is the only thing I have to check the packing materials and see. And I can check with Paula Dorn as well from South Carolina, whether or not this was missing from the get-go. I might have a replacement for this so that if she wants to do twin needle sewing, she can set up both spools on the machine side by side as it was intended to be done. But that's going to be kind of up to her if she wants to incur that extra expense. And I see these mounts right here. I don't know if this came out of a table and is going to be going back into a table or not, but that will also impact how I do the wiring. If you're wiring a machine to be in a table and maybe use a knee controller setup, let's say her table has a knee controller and a carriage to slide a foot controller into, then you only have to make that cord so long. If she wants to also have the option of having that foot controller on the ground underneath the table, if this is going to go back into a table, then you got to make that cord obviously quite a bit longer. And there's also different ways to wire these machines as well. So I'll have to kind of get a feeling from her now that we have it unboxed and we kind of know what we're working with, what her preferences are. I can do it either way. Looks like somebody may have tried to do some touch up on the back of the machine here. Kind of see that right there. I was just looking at this motor real quick to see. We got bare wire right there. So I'm not going to try to hook this up in any way to test the motor right now, because this is a metal case, and with bare wire right next to this metal case, it's an unnecessary risk to take. But this is an original Pfaff motor, as you can see. Can you guys read in the shot how big this motor is? And obviously, when they moved from the Model 230s to the 332, they ended up taking a motor and mounting it on the bottom of the machine as part of the bottom plate. In the 230 series, the 130 series, they were still doing either side mounted with pulleys or rear mounted motors. And then when they went to the 332 that I had on the workbench a little bit ago, like the one we sent to Switzerland, they ended up building a horizontal flat type motor that would mount right to the bottom of the motor casing. And I don't see anybody having typed it in yet. If you can't read it, this is a 1.3 amp motor. So, and this is an original German motor. So unlike some of the aftermarket motors now that are coming out of China and other places that are rated at 1.3 or 1.5 amps, and they don't nearly have that amount of output power, once this motor is optimized, it is going to be a beast. It's going to be an absolute beast with 1.3 amps. Kind of like the Swedish motors, that the larger Swedish motors that are 1.5 amps, which is more power than you're probably ever going to need. It's interesting that when they went through the different migrations of this Pfaff series from the original 130 that came out late 1920s, early 1930s, to the 130-6 with the embroidery kit, to the 230s, to the 332, the 338, they never developed a slow gear like the Swedish did. That's kind of interesting, isn't it? A lot of the makers either with a power boost or otherwise would come up with something like a turbo boost for the machine or a way of slowing it down. The Pfaff makers never went that direction for whatever reason. Well, unless you have any other questions about this model that we just unboxed that belongs to Paula Dorn from the great state of South Carolina, then I'm going to probably bring this live stream to an end and get back to work. I'm trying to finish the work right now, as I think you may have seen on this 19E special from 1964 right now. And this again is a machine that is going to be heading back and be used with NGD veterinary relief, which is like a rescue type thing. And this particular one belongs to Nancy. I have to check the address, but this belongs to Nancy, and she uses it in developing different things for critters, dogs, cats, horses, whatever it is. And the 19E special, like the machine we were just looking at on the other workbench, this 230 that we just unboxed from South Carolina. This green machine, unlike some of the other green machines, is called a special. Right here, you can see it on the front, I think. It's called a special because instead of needing to put cams in the back, if I turn it around, you'll see, hold on a second. You'll see that it has a built-in cam stack right here. And it doesn't afford you a huge number of stitch options, but by rotating this, you can generate anything from what I would call a 3-point zigzag to a standard zigzag, and then a blind hem style stitch as well. And a lot of the earlier green machines, all they were was a straight stitch machine. Unless they were rotary style, then some of those had zigzags as well. And this one also, if I'm pointing it right, let me set the camera down and actually point it that way and adjust it. Yeah, I've got it pointed right. This comes with a larger motor. I think this is a... Nope, I'm thinking of another one. I'm wrong. Some of these came with 1.5s. This just has a 1 amp original Swedish motor. Just a 1 amp. But you know what? A 1 amp, I've said this before, a 1 amp compared to a 1.5, once it's optimized, is not going to be, it's not going to be strikingly noticeable. So at any rate, I appreciate you jumping into this live stream with me and being a part of the unboxing for Paula Dorn's Model 230. And like I said, I'm just tickled pink that there was nothing wrong with the machine, assuming that it only had one spool pin to begin with. It survived the journey. So it really is nothing short of a miracle. But y'all take care. Enjoy your, I think it's Tuesday, right? Yeah, enjoy your Tuesday. And stay tuned. I'll be doing some more premieres or live feeds, possibly towards the end of this week. So, all right, take care, everybody. Bye.
Oh, there is a problem with the lighting system.